Hey sis, today on the Her Best Self podcast, we're talking all about labels, what they are, how we get them, and most importantly, how every single label that you've ever worn and are wearing today is actually a choice. Let's get right to today's show. Hey girl, welcome to the Her Best Self podcast. I'm Lindsay Nickel, former competitive figure skater and perfectionist, turned God-led imperfect boy mom and digital CEO. If you find yourself constantly thinking about food and wondering if you'll wake up one day free from the obsessive thoughts and behaviors controlling your life, then I've created this podcast for you because I know exactly what it's like to be a downright hot mess trapped in the destructive cycle of disordered eating. I finally found freedom, and you can too, girlfriend. So if you're ready to heal your relationship with food and body and break the chains of control and show up in your best health, then grab your favorite Tarjay journal and let's get to it so you can start living your best life as your best self. Hey girl, welcome back to the show. Am I so happy to be here in your ear today? I heard a quote recently that absolutely rocked my world, and I wrote it down. I have no idea where it came from, but I wrote it down and I said, the next show that I do, I'm going to bring this quote up because I know that all the women that are listening need to hear this. And I have a feeling it's really going to resonate with you. I am no longer willing to abandon myself in service of others. I want you to let that sink in. I am no longer willing to abandon myself in service of others. Sis, this hit me like a freight train because I realized how much of my life I spent doing exactly that, abandoning who I truly was to keep others comfortable with the labels they'd put on me. And today I want to talk about labels, what they are, how we get them, and most importantly, how every single label that you wear is actually a choice. So let's start there. What is a label? And I don't mean labels on the peanut butter jar. Click back to a couple episodes where I talked about my peanut butter story. But a label is a way that we define ourselves, or we have others define us, meaning the skinny friend, the successful one, the perfectionist, the healthy eater. And here's what I want you to understand. Every label that you put on, while it might not be something that you welcome, it is a choice to allow it to sit on you. Even the labels that feel automatic, even the ones that you feel like you've worn for years. And your current circumstances, well, they've just been built from years of these labels that may not actually have anything to do with who you truly are. Because maybe they were aligned at one point, but here's the truth. You're allowed to change, and you're going to change. And so is your body. But first, I want to share in today's show labels that I carried for years. Maybe they can resonate with you. I was the skater, the high achiever, the fit friend, the skinny one, the successful one, the only child, the one who just had it all together, the picky one, the persnickety one. As I sat down to think about all the labels that people put on me and that I even put on myself, I realized that they weren't just casual descriptions. They had become my entire identity at one point in my life. And I compare it to a coat. Like they were this heavy coat that I would wear. And after a while, that coat got really, really heavy. I would continue to just put more and more labels on myself. And here's what I realized during my recovery. In order to get out of my eating disorder alive, I was going to have to gain weight. Period. No negotiation. That's where I was at. And if you're not there, friend, then continue to listen to today's show. It's still going to apply to you and you're going to get so much out of it. But I had to get really real with myself and get down to the truth that in order to get out of where I was going to have to weight restore. Period. And that meant that I had a choice to make. I could care what everyone else thought and literally die inside caring so much about their opinions, or I could brush off their opinions and decide that what they thought about my body wasn't my business in the next phase of life. Like it simply couldn't be. The real was that I was so scared of not belonging, feeling rejected. And that all came from my childhood, which I did years of therapy and I'm still uncovering day after day. But if other people are judging me for doing what's best for myself and my health, then were they ever really supposed to be a long-term person in my life. Or maybe they were just supposed to be here for a hot minute to teach me something. But what I did know to be true was that I wasn't going to be able to hold both beliefs any longer. I had to make a choice. I had been operating from a false identity. I was believing what others had put on me year after year after year. And I had completely abandoned myself in service of keeping everyone else comfortable with who they expected me to be. Do you ever feel that way? Like you have so many expectations on you and everyone is expecting something from you. What if I didn't want to be the one who had it all together anymore? What if I wanted to be messy or imperfect or real or authentic for once in my life? Just the casual breath of going woosah. What if I don't want to be the perfect one, the one that has it all together all the time? I want to talk about why we care so much about others' opinions, because this is hard stuff. Why do we care so much? Here are some stats that might blow your mind. Studies show that fear of social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. So what does that mean? Being judged by other people hurts in the same way as being physically injured. Research from UCLA found that 90% of people make judgments about others within the first 7 seconds of meeting them. And here's the kicker. We know this, so we're constantly performing. And a 2023 study found that women spend an average of 2.5 hours a day thinking about how other people perceive them. 2.5 hours a day. That's literally 1,000 hours per year spent in our own heads thinking about what other people think of us. But here's what changed for me. I remember back in my recovery thinking, I'm going to have to gain weight, and what are other people going to think? It was the day that I decided that I was going to care more about my future than I was their opinion. And that is when this battle was won. Because here's the truth. What other people think about you or about me is really not about you or about me. And it's definitely not worth fighting in your entire life of an eating disorder for. So I want to paint a picture. Every day that you're putting on the different coats, the coats for the different people, the different situations, the different expectations, the disciplined one when you're around those health-focused friends, the successful one when you're at work, the small one when you're at family gatherings, the perfectionist when you're literally anywhere else in the world. Over time, these coats, they just get heavy, like really heavy. And you start to forget what you actually look like underneath all of the layers. This is what happened to me. And the problem with these external labels is they keep you trapped in other people's definitions of who you should be. And I'm underscoring should. They make you abandon yourself more and more every single day. And then to top this all off with an eating disorder, external labels can literally be life-threatening. If your identity is wrapped up in being the skinny one or the fit one or the one that doesn't have carbs or the one that has to count their macros or the one that has to have the steps and the one that has to go to the gym every single day, what happens when recovery asks you to gain weight? Or what happens when being in recovery asks you to pull back your exercise a little bit? Or what happens when you have to become more flexible with food? When it asks you to disappoint people's expectations? See, the thing here, friend, is you can't recover while wearing someone else's coat. You just can't. And here's where the power lies. You get to choose. You get to choose what coat you want. Not the ones that your family gave you, not the ones that were passed down to you, not the ones that your eating disorder has been whispering to you, not the labels that society is putting on you. The ones that align with who you actually are at your core and who you're becoming. So instead of the fit friend, the skinny one, maybe part of you does want to be those things. But what if instead you put on a healthier version of that? How about the brave one? I mean, you're going through some real stuff, sis. Instead of the perfectionist, which I used to love being called, what if I chose the authentic one instead? Or maybe the people pleaser. Gosh, aren't we all? What if instead of that, you chose the boundary setter? I mean, that is some boss babe energy. This isn't about becoming someone completely different. It's about becoming who you are actually meant to be underneath all the coats. Research shows that people who define themselves by internal values rather than external expectations report 40% higher life satisfaction and 60% lower anxiety levels. I want you to think about that. When you stop abandoning yourself in service of other people, you literally become happier and more peaceful. Now, I need to tell you something that might feel a little bit scary, and I was jotting this down in my notes as I was talking through like the frame up for today's show, but I want to tell you out loud, and I want you to say this to yourself as well, okay, friend? You have total, unapologetic permission to disappoint other people. I know that feels hard, and I know you've spent years, maybe decades like myself, trying to keep everyone comfortable with who you are. But sis, their comfort is not your responsibility. When I chose recovery, real, full, all-in surrender, people were disappointed. Some people missed the old Lindsay who was always in control, always disciplined, always small. And I had to learn to be okay with that. I had to learn to be okay with that disappointment because their disappointment was the price of my freedom. Do you hear me? Their disappointment was the price of my freedom. You cannot recover from an eating disorder while wearing the coat of other people's expectations. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do a label audit. What coat are you wearing right now? What labels have you been carrying that don't actually belong to you? Are you the healthy one who's actually struggling? The successful one who's falling apart inside? The strong one who desperately needs support and feels like she's crumbling? Write them down, every single label that you've been wearing. And then I want you to ask yourself, who am I when I'm not trying to be what everyone else expects of me? Sis, what labels would you choose if you knew that no one was watching or caring? If you knew that you couldn't disappoint? If you knew that your worth wasn't tied to their expectations? Those are the real labels. Those are the ones worth wearing. And here's what I learned, that recovery isn't just about changing your relationship with food and your body and yourself, but it's also about choosing to show up as being authentically you as possible, even when that is going to require that you disappoint other people. So maybe you're not the most boniest one in the room anymore. Maybe you're the brave one who chose life. Maybe you're not the perfectionist. Maybe you're the person who's learning to be real and is perfectly imperfect. I used to say that all the time in my recovery. Lindsay, you are perfectly imperfect. It just felt like a warm hug. Maybe you're not the people pleaser anymore. Maybe the people pleaser identity is something that you put on because it felt safe, because you were in service to everyone else over yourself. And therefore, the more you identify with being a people pleaser, the more it is going to suck you in. Maybe you're the woman who knows her worth isn't tied to make everyone else around her comfortable. These new labels, they're going to serve you so much better than the old ones. But I don't want to leave you with this episode letting you think that that's going to be easy, right? Because when we have operated in labels that other people put on us that really impacts their life as well, when we try to go against the grain, when we say, you know what, I am no longer participating in this. I'm no longer going to abandon myself in the service of other people around me. The people that have been benefiting from that version of you, they'll get mad. They'll get frustrated. Oh, you've changed so much. And you know what? You have a choice to make. You can keep wearing coats that don't fit. You can keep abandoning you. You can keep dying a little bit every day inside. Or you can say, you know what? I have changed. I have. You can choose to disappoint some people and you can save yourself. You can choose labels that align with your values and your truth and your recovery. You can choose to care more about your future than their opinions. Now, I'm not saying that other people who are close to you in your life, that their opinions don't matter. You should disregard what people are saying to you, especially if people are around you or trying to rally and get you help and support and be in your corner. But what I am saying is this is your life, your recovery, and you matter more. So you're no longer willing to abandon yourself in the service of other people. I want you to say it. The coats you've been wearing, they're not yours. The labels that all those people have given you, you get to set them down. Your current situation is just simply the result of years of unaligned beliefs and labels. But you're allowed to change, and you're going to have to. And that's the real truth. Sis, the world needs the real you, not the version of you that everyone else wants to be on Instagram. So I want you to stop abandoning yourself. I want you to start choosing yourself. Your future self is waiting for that. I hope today's episode has given you a hype energy, hype girl type of vibe today. I wanted to come on and just say, I know we're approaching a new season, and with new spring season energy, sometimes we get out of our bubbles and we go out into the world again to breathe in the fresh air and the flowers. And what I want for you as you approach a new season in your life is for you to give yourself the opportunity to make this the best season of your life. So if you've been struggling with restricting and over-exercising and compensating and just feeling like you are on this hamster wheel, I want you to know you're not alone. If you're looking for support to own your life and to actually align your values, your truth, as you dip into this whole, who am I without this eating disorder era, I would love to talk with you completely complimentary and to see if we would be a great fit to work together to help navigate your path forward. If you're interested, come out to herbestself.co, fill out a client application, and we'll get some time on the books to connect. I hope you have a great weekend, friend. Until next time, bye for now. Oh, friend, thank you so much for letting me share what was on my heart today. My hope for this podcast is to help more women find freedom from food and body. If this has empowered or blessed you, let me know. I'd be honored for your rating and review of my show, and I'd love to connect with you in my private Facebook community. You really can move from perfection to purpose. Let's break the chains together. I'll help navigate the way. Until next time, bye for now, girl.